Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. If this is your first time here, I'm Jennifer. Most people know me as Jingle, and I'm a travel advisor. I help people plan meaningful, stress-free vacations, the kind that actually feel like a true escape. And something else about me that really shapes how I look at travel is that I'm also a nurse. So I kind of live in two worlds. One where I take care of people in very real, very intense ways, and one where I help people step away from all that and just breathe again. And so today I want to talk about something that I really feel strongly about. The idea that travel isn't just a luxury, it's actually a form of therapy. So in my day job as a nurse, I see what happens when people run on empty for too long. And honestly, I don't just see it in my patients, I see it in myself too. See, for as long as I can remember, I've always run full speed ahead. I've always had my hands in multiple projects. So I sleep and I work. And the truth is, I actually like my life this way. I like being busy, I like building things, I like having purpose and momentum. And being in the medical field, I'm surrounded by people who live their lives the same way. In fact, I bet most of you listening can relate to this, because even when I was a stay-at-home mom, life didn't look any different. I was homeschooling 4 kids, trying to manage a household on a super tight budget, keeping up with all of their activities and friends. And let me just say, who knew homeschooled kids could be that social? There was always something. And over time, I started to notice something about myself. I wasn't always physically exhausted, but I was mentally and emotionally drained. Like my bucket was just empty. And I think that's the kind of exhaustion we don't always recognize right away, because we're still functioning. We're still showing up, we're still getting everything done, but underneath it, we're running on fumes. And so for me, travel became something deeper because of that. I don't know, I've always had a special place in my heart for Walt Disney World. I was fortunate enough to go a couple times as a kid. And honestly, I don't remember those trips being over-the-top magical or anything. They were fun, but nothing really life-changing at the time. In fact, the biggest memory I have of my first trip is waiting 90 minutes in line for Dumbo while my mother begged me, could we please go do anything else? So yeah, not life-changing. But anyway, I digress. When I had kids, something shifted. It became this dream, honestly, kind of an obsession to take them. Life doesn't always line up with our plans, though. The financial downturn hit in 2009. We couldn't make it on just my husband's salary anymore. That's actually what led me into healthcare. And the funny thing is, while everyone else was tightening their belts, all of a sudden, we had more financial stability than we'd had before. And at the same time, Disney was offering some incredible promotions because nobody could afford to go. So I made a decision. We were going to make this trip happen. It took about 9 months of working overtime, saving to fly our family of 6 to Walt Disney World for a week. And I would love to say that it was my kids' faces that made it all worth it. But dear Lord, it was a surprise trip. And when we actually told them that that's where we were going, there was crying and wailing, and they were not tears of happiness. See, my parents had met us because they were going to take our car back. And so my kids thought they were going to spend time with their grandparents. And when we broke it to them that we were actually going to Disney World, they were upset. However, after a couple days at Disney World, they forgave me. But it wasn't their experience that changed my mind on this. It was my husband's. All of a sudden, he was in this completely different world where everything felt picture perfect. I mean, I had done all the planning, I had handled all the details. So for the first time in a long time, all of his responsibilities just melted away. And honestly, because I'd done all of that pre-planning, everything was already laid out, all of my responsibilities melted away too. So for that 1 week, nothing existed outside of that world. I mean, I remember that my biggest stress was deciding what I wanted to eat at the restaurants. And so after years of stretching every dollar, trying to feed my family on a tight budget, now we were somewhere that felt abundant, luxurious, relaxed, and easy. And so something in me shifted during that trip. I felt lighter, more present, more connected, and that's when it really clicked. This wasn't just a vacation. This was a reset. And I think it's important to say this too. Not every trip is a reset. I mean, I've taken trips where I came home just as tired, if not more tired than when I left, where everything was scheduled, rushed, trying to do everything. And it felt like we needed a vacation from the vacation. And that's when I realized it's not just about going somewhere, it's about how you experience that trip. Because there's a difference between checking boxes and actually being present. And that's a big part of what I help my clients do. And that wasn't a one-time thing. That trip to Disney World wasn't just a one-time thing. Just before COVID, I bought my first annual pass. And after COVID, I found myself going back every 6 to 8 weeks. Now listen, that's a commitment when you're traveling all the way from West Texas. And people would ask me all the time, why on earth would you go there so often? But my husband, he defended every single trip because he saw what it did for me, that it was my happy place. I would leave feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, sometimes even depressed and barely functioning. And I would come back completely different, lighter, happier, more energetic, ready to step back into my life again. And the funny thing is, when I really think about it, this isn't new for me. Even as a kid, about every couple of months, my parents would send me to stay with my grandparents because I was being a stinker. And for that week, I was the princess. Everything slowed down, everything felt special, and I would come home a completely different kid. When I was there, I didn't have chores, I didn't have schoolwork, I didn't have homework, I didn't have all of the activities that I had to go and do and be in. And so when I came home, having a week away from all of that, I came back happy, calm, and reset. So I think a part of me has always known this, that sometimes you have to step out of your world to come back to it as your best self. And what's interesting is, this isn't just something I've experienced. There's actually research behind this. Studies have shown that people who take regular vacations have lower stress levels, improved mood, better sleep, and even better health. And one of the things researchers talk about is something called a psychological detachment. Basically, your brain finally gets a break from your everyday stressors. And honestly, that makes so much sense. Because when you're home, even if you're resting, your brain is still running through the checklist. Laundry, work, emails, what needs to be done tomorrow. Have y'all seen that TikTok reel, I think, where the lady's like backtracking? She's like, okay, if we have to be here at 7, then I need to have dinner on the table by 6, which means that I need to be home from work by 5, and she's like backing it all up. That's what this is talking about. Your brain needs that rest. So once you get out of that everyday environment, that's when your brain clicks and says, oh, we can rest now. And so this is really why I do what I do. Yes, I do plan vacations, but it's so much more than that to me. Vacations allow families to step out of their everyday lives and responsibilities. And when you do that, you really start to see each other again. You notice your partner, you reconnect with your kids, you discover new things about the people you love. You remember why those relationships matter. That first trip to Disney with my family, I planned it myself. And when I say planned it, I mean, I spent 20 to 30 hours a week researching every restaurant, every attraction, every strategy. And so that's what I do for my clients now. You still have full control of your vacation, but I come alongside you with the knowledge of what's actually worth your time and money, how to balance everyone's interests, how to handle all of the moving pieces, so that when you get there, you can just be present, because that's the part that matters most. And I've seen this happen with my clients too. I've had clients come to me completely overwhelmed. Busy schedules, kids and activities, work nonstop, and they almost didn't take the trip. But when they came back, the message is almost always the same. I didn't realize how much we needed that. Not just the kids, not just the destination, but the time together, the space to reconnect. And I think that's the part people don't expect. And so I want you to think about this for just a second. When was the last time you felt truly rested? Not just caught up, not just off work, but actually reset. Because if it's been a while, that might be your sign. So if you feel like you're running on empty, or like you just need a break, but you keep putting it off, I want you to hear this. You don't have to wait for the perfect time, because honestly, it rarely comes. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your life is step away from it for a little while. I like to think of it like this. You wouldn't expect your phone to run at full capacity forever without charging it. Eventually it slows down, it glitches, it stops working the way it should. And we're not any different. Travel is one of the ways we recharge. So, if you're now finding yourself in need of recharge, I am here for you. Whether you're ready to plan that trip or even just start dreaming about it, you can find me on all social platforms, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Pinterest at Journeys by Jingle, and on LinkedIn as Jennifer Ingle, I-N-G-L-E. But the best place to connect with me is on my website, www.journeysbyjingle.net. There you can explore destinations, learn how I work, and see if I might be the right travel advisor for you. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next episode.